service, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. during the weekdays and 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. On weekends. We did, because that was such a huge price tag, we did talk about some possible cost-saving options, which would be not to extend the Nantucket route, operate the Mid-Island and Myacomet on less frequent headways, and to operate 4 trips daily on the Wisconsin itself instead of 7, and possibly only extending current shoulder routes that would begin Daffodil Festival and end after Christmas stroll, thus extending the existing season a little bit, but not year-round. The Board of Selectmen and NRTA Advisory Board held a joint meeting so that we'll talk freely because whatever hat they were wearing. Of course, the cost was a concern, and how that would be paid. Not so much how much it cost, but how it would be paid for. They were concerned with the use of certain narrow streets, or Dover Street, on a year-round basis, and whether Sconset truly needed to be serviced. I will tell you that this was not made up, this service and what it should look like. It was based on data, on market analysis, and on the feedback that we've got from members of the community. It wasn't spitball what the service should look like. And they wanted to look at maybe some variations of these routes. The contract with ACOM has expired. The funding has been spent. I am trying through the RTA's capital channels to get some transit planning money set aside for the consultants to continue to look at those alternatives, and to see what that information comes back to. I'm hoping to be able to find that money. I don't know for a little while yet, and it would have to be completed by June 30th. My opinion is that what is presented as the true year-round service is good. Certainly the Mid-Island and Myacomet move on 30-minute frequencies. It's what we do in the shoulder season. The ridership projections were strong. We're above a lot of other rural authorities, not only in Massachusetts, but in New England and throughout the nation. And we certainly see a need along Old South Road, especially with some of the new developments that are going to be going up there, and the huge playing field kid contingency of parents wanting to be able to get their kids out to Nantucket or Farnham Road after school hours.
Was there any thought to doing a priority and doing it over a number of years, or just kind of as an all-at-once thing?
Kind of an all-at-once thing, because it goes together. The possible cost savings options did present that. If we started at 60 minutes and it was successful, although hourly service is difficult for people to take. If you have to be to work at 8 o'clock and you have to catch the bus at 7:10, you're not likely, but if you can catch it at 7:40 and be to work at 8 o'clock, there would be those things to look at and to take into consideration. Expanding the current service and the season a little bit could be an option for that. But if we want, the goal, the task was to look at year-round service and what that would look like.
Robert.
Can you just explain a little bit where this money is supposed to come from? I see it right here, but I'm sorry, I'm not quite getting.
Oh, where it's going to come from?
Yeah.
That's what you're hearing.
Okay.
I mean, I see these percentages, I'm like,
Yeah, well, that's what we're trying to figure out. What options are there available or could be available or voted to be available or,
the money tree.
to be,
That's
yeah, money
ridiculous.
tree.
Ridiculous.
Somebody's gonna plant it.
Mr. Chairman, we did do a breakdown of the existing federal state aid that's provided. Right now, all of the seasonal service is funded through federal, state, and local assessment. As Paul mentioned, the ferry connector is something that can't utilize that because it's not in service. It's something that's been implemented but privately funded, so another source other than federal, state aid, or local assessments can be found. That could be found in this third row down under the embarkation fee. It's not currently used for the seasonal service, but could be used if it was increased. Right now, a lot of that money that for the embarkation fee has been dedicated for a specific purpose. What could be done is request to increase that so that there could be an amount that's purposed for transportation, transit services. That amount could be 50 cents or up to $1 for the embarkation fee, but those are some scenarios that we studied and see if we can balance that perhaps with other sources. The fourth row down is a sales tax increase. There's other communities in the country that use that 0.5% sales tax specifically for transit service. For local transit service, this is in addition to the regional transit service that's provided using federal state aid and federal state aid. A lot of communities who want this additional service implement a sales tax because they're serious about it. They see the benefits transit service provides for the economy and for the population, and they do it. Some of them set a sunset clause for some of these sales tax options, so they can be reassessed and evaluated and adjusted as time goes on to make sure that the money's not being spent irresponsibly, not too much money is being taken out for the taxes, or maybe not enough, and they need to increase it. So there's provisions for addressing that. The community has also looked at paid parking. I mean, that's something that's not new at all to you all. The feasibility of paid parking has been studied. We've had projections of what revenues could look like. Those revenues are right, they correlate pretty much with what this additional transit service costs. So the I guess scenarios for paid parking and the revenues that we could generate in the summer season could be enough to fund not only the year-round service, but some of this other supplemental transit service that we've already identified and included in our transportation plan. But that's something that needs to be implemented, and it involves equipment somehow. And display. I don't think the individual meters for individual parking spaces is something that's very popular at all. But through our studies, we've identified a number of different methods that can be used for paid parking, not just a single space, but a multi-space meter. Also use cell phones or in-car meters. There's a variety of different options, but paid parking is one alternative. Seeking authorization for a portion of the sales tax increase of sales tax could be something that we could ask for. That may require town meeting vote to authorize it. Same with the embarkation fee. We'd have to submit a roll petition through town meeting to ask for authority to increase the embarkation fee, or we just simply ask the Board of Selectmen to increase the local assessment. This here says it's the town need to approve it, but specifically it's the Board of Selectmen that need to approve the local assessment upon the service. So we've taken an initial stab at outlining this out and providing some narrative for each one of these issues. But obviously this is the initial stages, and some more work needs to be done. But obviously needs support from groups like this to provide recommendations to boards like the Board of Selectmen and the NRT Advisory Committee, and to provide recommendations if necessary to the town meeting to implement some of these strategies. So that's before we go too far. We want to kind of gauge this group and solicit direction for staff.
What's the current cost?
8 something, right? Oh, current, sorry.
Yeah, the current, NRT operations.
Our seasonal service is about 1.4 million.
And what's the town cost?
They contribute, say right around 450,000, and it's not the town per se, it's through the board system.
That's what you meant, I think, the general fund, right? I make a couple statements about this. You know, this is where the Nantucket sort of how people think here, just Magneto just goes right to the moon, right? When we sat with Wendy Schmidt, I think it was about 10, 12 years ago, talking about the vibrating things for the parking and the medallion, all these different ideas, and I sat there in that room at 0 Main Street and said, this is never going to happen on Nantucket. So far, I've been right. That's why that sticker idea I had, even though Bruce got kind of blown up, I think it was just handled wrong. Just like a beach sticker. I mean, I'm thinking about something that is the only way to implement something on Nantucket without spending half the money on implementing it, okay? You collect $50 for every car that parks downtown. You can park downtown 7,000 times or twice, and it's $50, just like going to Great Point, just like going to the town beaches. To me, something like that is the only way to generate downtown parking to be acceptable on Nantucket. To have meters, things that rust, things that don't work, things that require maintenance is crazy. You know, for here, not somewhere else that's year-round and it's just the city is busy in the summer and busy in the winter. I think that there's ways to raise money that don't require us to spend half of it to do it, okay, and hire more people or whatever we have to do. As far as the embarkation fee, I talked to you guys to death about that. I don't really want to get into it again because I feel kind of silly to talk about it. There's so many political confusion things with this. I'm in favor of fixing the commuter books. But I don't know how that's going to happen because of this other feelings about this. The vineyard would generate zillions if they did it because they all have commuter books on the slow boat over there. It's just how it works. If you look at the breakdown, you saw the paperwork from Bob, I think, from Bob Davis. Every year, it's flat now because of the commuter books, because of the, it's just normal. Like people from off island that come here a lot are buying commuter books because that's what they do. It's the right thing. So we have less income, more people on the boat. Charging more for the tickets that people aren't buying as much is backwards. This needs to be looked at to be fixed. I feel I already have the answer, but they're not totally in agreement with what I'm thinking. I think it should be $5 a book, 25 cents a ticket. It'll generate a lot of money. But I look at this, Paula, year round and ensconce it. I mean, I don't know about that.
No.
Tom Nevis makes more sense than Wisconsin. Just from seeing where people live, it's complicated. I mean, I would subsidize a cab before I'd run the bus to Wisconsin. You know what I mean? In the winter. No, I'm serious. You agree with me? I love that.
No, because we did get a huge contingency.
Who lives in Wisconsin without a car?
And I think I don't think Mike, but I'm not going to speak for you. I mean, I'm just kind of a part of this, but I think we're presenting options, not to say that paid parking is.
No, I know. We have no other thing.
Or whatever, but
Yeah.
communities all across this country use paid parking, revenues from paid parking for improved transit services. I think that that's the point, and also with the sales tax and with the embarkation fee, you can't touch what is already being generated.
Well, that's not totally true. But I know what you mean, though. Yeah, I get you.
The ferry connector is a perfect project for that, so if you can't access the funds that are currently available for that then increasing it, whatever, we're not saying on commuter books or on tickets, but
Just to something.
it's something.
Yeah. Leslie, go ahead.
I think the idea of paid parking is a can that's been kicked down the road for years. And I have to get on board somewhat here with what Nat said, in that if you want to play, you have to pay.
This isn't me.
I know, I'm just saying.
No, Paul, you're the one that has
I'm
to.
speaking to everybody, but it's just
Yeah.
easier for me to look across the
Yeah.
room, okay?
Right, I agree.
I think that if we're going to fund this, we have to look at who's utilizing this and how we're gonna pay for this. And people need to park on Nantucket, there's a gazillion cars. We gotta get some revenue from it, it's just, that's it. And I agree that you don't wanna have objects. The HTC would never wanna see parking meters down on Main Street, it would look hideous. We're trying to be something different. Well, we are, I mean, that's part of the attraction. Nantucket is a historical downtown, we don't need to have stuff that we have to maintain. But the idea of stickers, I just came from where I spend some time now in the winter down in Naples, everything is stickers. It's easy. And people like the Great Point idea for stickers. You come in one time, you buy your sticker, you're just done for the year. People don't want to be shelling out every day, just once. It hurts once, whether it's $50, $100, $250, whatever the number is. Figure what the usage is, and that's something that Mike can figure out with his group. And when you come up with those numbers, I think it's a home run. It's just something we've talked about for so long. I think we have to finally bite the bullet and say, we gotta pay for some parking. Because there's still, even in the winter, you can come downtown and people who are shop owners, and I don't know who or what, or business owners, or in the spring when all the people are trying to get their stores ready, they're parking all day, and you can't, I mean, there it is, it's a car, you can park, so you park. And I'm not blaming any one person, everybody's just trying to do their best. But if you had paid parking, you would be able to get some revenue for those spaces rather than just have them be a big freebie.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
Maybe you hit it, I'm sorry. You know, Paul, the Uber thing is like the first iPhone right now. It's like a new thing. There isn't that many people do it. But some of the stuff that I've been told about by the cab people that I talk to, there's just a couple of them that I sort of focus on, that have explained some very interesting points about Uber. If you Uber, you can park anywhere and just sit in your car and just wait for the next call. If you're an Uber, you can just drive right past all the cabs at the airport that are paying $450 for the privilege to park and drive right by 15 cabs and pick up somebody for free. And that's only the beginning of it. It's interesting. It's just interesting. I'm seeing this as like movie rentals shifting and all that. I'm getting to something, don't worry. I'm not babbling. I'm looking at, I don't want to do something that is like old and late and we did it. Like radios and trucks. Nobody has radios, but a lot of people spent a lot of money before cell phones came out on radio towers and repeaters. Okay? That's why the sticker thing is the only way, in my opinion, it's a Nantucket way of collecting money to park in town. It's a privilege. You already have the 2 hour, 1 hour, half hour week. That's all controlled by the selectmen through the, you know, whatever, right? The parking people. I can't say meter maid anymore. So, but the privilege to park is different. And that's what we're talking about. It is a privilege to park in town. I totally agree. Fifth generation native. I am agreeing with that. But to get the money is different. And I feel bad that Bruce took that idea, which was mine originally a long time ago, and he got beaten to death. And it's actually not a stupid idea. Okay? Because it's Nantucket. We're already doing it. How many vehicles don't have two beach stickers on them on Nantucket that four-wheel drive? Not many.
And
So-
even if they use it once.
They go
just
on.
do
I mean,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
They just do it.
You just do
They
it.
have it.
You let your air out of your tires, it's $150, and you go twice, or you go 250 times like Granville Cranston used to do. I don't know. That's just how it works. But I'm just concerned with funding something that we have to someday unwind. And I wanted to ask you that. If this ever happened, and it didn't pan out to be enough ridership to warrant the service, how would it be unwound, Paula? Because government doesn't go backwards that easily. I'm just asking. Well, I don't see it. So I'm just asking how that would happen.
You know, you say it would take a number of years to see how truly effective it would be. We would always be looking at that like we do our seasonal route service and see what needs to be changed, if anything, with that. And you start scaling it back. If in year 3, there's absolutely no one on the buses in
Okay.
January, February, and March, you would say, okay, maybe you look at the stroll or the Christmas, you look at the data and see, you know, where that ridership.
Have we discussed, and I'm sorry, you're right with you. Have we discussed what Bert said? You made me think about Bert last meeting when he mentioned, Bert Johnson mentioned implementing the service through, you know, some of our big weekends before we went full blown. Is that possible? Or do we have to just do the whole thing?
Well, I would think that if the community spoke the way that it did, and the task was to recommend year-round service, then that's what we're talking about. If that can't be achieved, and if people, you know, if the board or, you know, the funding doesn't pan for it, then starting at a different spot to achieve year-round service would be.
I think Paul has a really good idea. I think that maybe the 848,000 is too big a pill to swallow.
Yeah.
But if you started with the one that you know everybody would use,
Oh, you know what
the
those
comic
roads
book,
are. That's
and
not
I don't know
bad.
what just that piece costs, but maybe the local assessment could be helped to cover that.
Old South, nobody found Bartlett.
Yeah, priority wise.
Mid Island and Mycom, definitely. Those two routes make up about 50% of our route.
Yeah.
And, you know, we showed you, but with the overlays of where, you know, it lined up with the market analysis, with the feedback that we heard, and within our existing route structure.
Yeah. Okay, Wendy. Sorry.
Well, no, we're covering kind of what I was
Okay.
gonna say too. I mean, I would put in a plug for sure for, paid parking, no doubt, and that people will swallow when it's, you know, kind of related to a new incentive to keep, you know. And it does two things. It pays for something, but it also is a deterrent to bringing your car every day, you know. Unless it's the sticker, which is a little bit different, so. But I guess the main point, definitely paid parking, definitely no sales tax as a merchant. I have to say that that's just really not a good idea in the big distance for merchants. I feel like that's the right route. It's not directly tied to transportation enough. And I was gonna ask the very question, but, you know, we heard about what that money would do, like if we do paid parking. Oh, well, and I would say start with Daffodil to Stroll the first year, saying, we've heard you public, we know we wanna have this year round, but let's start with what seems to make sense probably to us here. You know, that's clearly more of a need. There's a lot of people on island right now, and they can use them for sure.
I think the point of being here with the funding sources is to see what the commission would support, recommending to Board of
Yeah.
Selectmen, not so much what the level of service will be.
Right, but it's, I guess, like, the other thing is,
That would be
where does this money come from and how much are we talking? Like, the first year of paid parking, we have to see if there's a lot of resistance to it, or if we have like 5 million dollars, you know?
Right.
Like what, and then the question was gonna be, what do we do with that excess funding, you know, if that really does generate a lot of money, what else can we do with it? That's my next question, you know, part would be for the shuttle and part would be, like, what, accelerating bike paths, or, you know, like, what could we, you know, I know that, you know,
Sidewalk
seeing all these
improvements
different
downtown that
routes.
have been identified
Yeah.
already. You know, some
Fast
money's
tracks
dedicated
and
this year,
those
but
things.
there's 10 phases of sidewalk improvements that we gotta go through.
That's
Maybe
perfect
there's-
answer.
Or
Yeah.
doing new buses. I'm sure
Yeah,
you
but
can
that's
replace a
state
couple.
stuff, isn't it? Isn't that fluffy money for the new buses?
Fluffy money?
You know what I mean. Doesn't that come from somewhere else?
It's capital.
Because everybody that did that study
There's-
thinks it came from
there's
somewhere
other
else.
services that certainly,
Yeah, just seeing how strict these spending rules are, you know, I mean, you guys know from
Mike's got the right answer on
Michelle
that.
says it should be for a lot of things.
I mean, we just appropriated, is it 1 or 1.5 million, Matt, for the things, right? I mean, there's never gonna be an end to the need for money to fix downtown's
That's for sure.
different
So we just
stuff,
wanna make sure
ever.
not only
So that's
shuttle buses
not an
are
issue
going
there,
on, With all our parking,
you know? Jack, you had a question?
Yeah, I'd support that daffodil to stroll. I think if you ran that for a couple of years, and then see whether you really need the rest of the year or not, whether you need that January, February, March, not on it, but if you, to get that daffodil to stroll, it's filling in another part of the year that when people are really going to work and everything, it'd be a good way to start out, I think, and then grow. Now, are you allowed to, once you start this, to add on and grow?
If there's Sunday fill.
Right, yeah.
That's the way to do it.
And, but
Well,
that
you
way
know,
is,
that'll be decided, yeah, based on other
April,
things.
Yeah.
December.
And I'm gonna
I mean,
ask,
I don't think that that's the recommendation necessarily.
now I have the $800,000 other question that I've been waiting to ask to the end, because I kinda think we're getting to the end. All right. Back when, before Remain, I don't even know if they were called Remain yet, bought Island Spirits, all the complaining and all the stuff before Facebook was, we want the direct shuttle, right?
No, you know, that
But-
only came from a few.
All right, but
What'd you say now?
a few-
direct shuttle.
It wasn't, it's not even from our customers, which is very funny. It comes from
But the-
people like you, there were a couple of
Okay.
selectmen
Well-
that thought that that would be a great idea, the Rhode Island and the spokes,
but
but it wasn't.
But the people that did the study, and I'm not gonna say, did they know that it isn't free? Do they know that stuff is part of this? And maybe anybody's gonna say yes if they're gonna get something, if they don't know how hard this is to do. So my point, what I mean is, 3 years ago, the reason why Two Fairgrounds parking lot was built, and this whole thing got pushed through Bruce and Mark Snyder and the other folks, was to do what, in its work, to get these vehicles off of streets without turning into the jackboot community of Nantucket. And it's worked. But it also could be, I don't consider the Ferry Connector the Ferry Connector. I consider it Zero Main Street Shuttle, because that's what it really is.
I mean, and that's.
And I'm
something
just trying to make a point that
With the
Well,
bigger lot,
a bigger lot.
with the bigger parking lot, it could certainly be promoted and there could be a function.
I mean, your magic that you probably have 100 pieces of scratch paper that you've tried to figure this stuff out. And I see that as something that is enhancing a successful thing that we need to do. The airport is downtown, it's not changing. So that I can guarantee you is not changing. They're not gonna make airplanes cheap to carry 150 people. They can just puddle jump to INS. So I just know as a community, we need to look at this as public officials as a little bit more comprehensively than just say, well, a study showed 1,562 people said we want the bus. I mean,
It was a little more.
everybody wants the steamship to run the ferry in the winter, but we'd be out of business. So it sounds great, but it isn't the right thing.
And
So that's all I'm saying. The risk of weather, I haven't even brought that up, and I'm not gonna say anything. I think we all understand that there's a risk with weather with this.
the costs that you saw are,
I don't understand the risk of weather.
Risk with weather, bad weather. What do
January,
you think, the
February, it's
buses are gonna
miserable.
just drive around all set? Are you kidding me?
they do it
Okay.
everywhere else.
Okay, but our roads are not like everywhere
We're
else.
not,
Am I wrong? We don't have snow removal, we don't do things like that here as normal.
I'll give you an example. Now, one thing that you're saying that is when you poll people and say, what do you want? We did that at the school. We asked all the teachers, what do they want for housing? We all want 2 and 3 bedrooms. That's what we need. Once we built them, we couldn't rent to the teachers because they didn't want to pay the rent for that size of unit. So there's what you really want and there's what you actually can afford and will use. So I think we have to be careful to
Yeah.
know what that is.
And And I think that comes back to the prioritizing.
Exactly.
Which is what Jack is saying.
And that was what the study identified, but again, the purpose of the study was to determine the feasibility of year-round study and to present a system of year-round study. And the costs for the service do not, those are strictly operating costs, that's before revenue would be, revenues from fares would be.
That was my last question. So
Yeah.
20% of that 840,000 would be covered by the tickets?
Let's not stick to 20% because it'd be less than that but that's our current fare box recovery system. So there would be some.
There's also another thing, this whole parking, and Libby sent an email to the steamship the other day, and she got the answer she wanted. Very complicated, but she got the answer about how it all works over there, but that's a different animal. I've said from the beginning that these vehicles, once they get acclimated to this system, it's free at the moment. Between $650 and $1,000 a year to park one vehicle here is cheap, okay? Just what we pay to park in Hyannis with a vehicle. It's $2 a day, a little bit more. That's it. I think that, and I'm not saying that funds anything, Paul, really. I'm just trying to come up with other ways other than just, paid parking. We have to charge the people that have finally got the message about the town lot and the two fairgrounds lot. Because we've got them figured out. Before they were putting little envelopes on their windshield wipers. I mean, once they get the message, now it's time to do it. But I still feel like Bartlett Road, Old South, I'm in favor of those year-round. Because I know there's going to be enough people living in these areas, but to go a little over further is different, in my opinion. I think we should stick with the heavily congested parts of the island if we go year-round. Even if we go to what Jack's talking about. That's where everybody lives.
Start it for the first year or two.
But anyway, I'll go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. I'll conclude my comments.
No, yes, sir, I think that's primarily where the study's focused. Obviously, there was a route that was shown that went out to Wisconsin. That's something that probably could be reevaluated,
Yeah.
and I think in RTA, Paula mentioned earlier, they can reevaluate the scenarios where the service doesn't go to Wisconsin, and try to focus this primarily within the town overlay district, which is
Right.
where we're supposed to be focusing our infrastructure. A lot of our multifamily overlays and affordable housing units along Old South and Nobody Farm Road, so that's probably your transit-dependent
Future apartment buildings, yeah.
That's probably where you should be providing the transit. I guess the guidance we were soliciting from this group, again, with special town meeting coming up, it doesn't sound like the MPs is willing to pursue increasing the sales tax. It doesn't seem like an avenue like other communities have done it, but I guess, we may not feel that same way here. As far as increasing embarkation fees, would that be something that?
I would make a motion that the MPDC does not support the sales tax option.
Is there a second? Wendy? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. Can't. I mean, you want to go through that stuff? I mean, I don't want to. This is the problem with this. I don't want this to be. I already make it the problem myself with my comments, but this has been going on for a little while. This hasn't just popped up. So.
No, Mr. Chairman, that's kind of the predicament staff's at, and that's why we kind of have to flush this out and have this kind of a meeting to kind of see where everybody's feelings are. Staff tries to be diligent, find out what other communities, where it works, and I'm hearing the sales tax doesn't work. The paid parking system could work through a sticker program, which is something that was almost like what we, I think Matt Fee, Paul, and I, and you, certifying committee.
Yes, that was a while ago.
That's about 15 years ago, yeah.
But it's the right thing. Doesn't cost anything.
And that had recommended a use of a sticker program. I think it was right around the $20, $25 per sticker is what was anticipated.
50,
and
right.
that was, maybe 50 can be done. But we did run through these scenarios previously, decades ago, but it has been looked at previously. We're happy to flush that out. If it says paid parking here, it doesn't really say what kind of paid parking. If that's something you're willing to vote on, we can make that recommendation and provide it to the Board of Selectmen for consideration. What we can also consider is, do we want to increase the embarkation fee at all? That's something that's a very good candidate source for this ferry connector service, which again, that was recommended in 2008 as part of the downtown traffic study. We did do a feasibility study on that particular service. We called it an intermodal shuttle.
Yeah.
Basically service between the airport and the ferry terminals with a park and ride in the middle. That was kind of the model we were kind of going after. Would this group want to support something like that?
It was.
I think Matt's idea on the ticket book is a good one. Because I think it'd be hard to get it in total, but I think Matt's idea is the way, what you should support.
We would have to vote a new one to.
No. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
We did run through some scenarios about the commuter books. It's right around, it would generate right around $20,000. So that's not a significant amount of money to fund something to level up the ferry connector service. That's
Where'd you get the 20 grand?
from the Steamship Authority.
What did they?
How many ticket books?
We looked, I didn't bring the.
No,
stat, but
it's more. Between the Highland and the steamship, the number of books sold times $5, 25 cents a ticket it's a lot more than that.
That would be 4,000 ticket books. Is it more than, how many?
There's a zillion. I don't know the number, but it's about what we're already getting.
It was a lower percentage than I think what people think for computer books.
It's not the big generator. I
Is that
think
the 2008 number though?
it doesn't.
Oh, right now.
12 and 13 is the data I looked at.
I
And didn't bring
I
those.
think we better re-examine that before we make that comment. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I don't think you're right on that. But I mean, I'm not, well, there you go. That was a John Kerry comment. I don't think that's accurate necessarily, Mike. How's that?
Flush out these ideas and actually get what the numbers really are. I mean, it's
Yeah.
one thing, we can also around numbers and what we think that they are, but that's kind of the point of this group is to kind of codify all of
just-
it, get the facts down and make recommendations based on those facts.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for the next meeting, we can bring back these kinds of data if it's supported. I mean, it costs a lot of staff time to put this information together. So if that's supported, we can definitely put that together and bring it to you. I think you're gonna have a better revenue number if you use the multiplier against the tickets themselves, 50 cents increase.
Let
Rather
me-
than commuter books, I think it's right around 20% of the tickets sold are through a commuter book. So increasing through that, you just don't get the.
So could you get that information?
Yeah, I can get it. Bob Davis can send that over in 10 minutes. They have more access to numbers I've ever seen in my life.
The other thing I'd
Very
like
quick.
to find out is what the Maya Comet Loop costs year-round versus Daffodil to Stroll.
Would you like it broken down each route?
That's not the goal.
I think somebody else suggests.
Well, I mean, Paul, what do you want us to do? Because,
With Mike.
I know you are. No, I mean, I don't want to,
Funding recommendation discussion, not the.
I mean, is there a deadline, drop date thing for this? I mean, this isn't going to happen
22 days.
16, 17 winter. I mean, I know that
But-
that's not going to happen.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, Paul, isn't it, I mean, this has to be put together now if this is going to happen next year. Because
Or
we,
if you want to go to special town meeting.
yeah, if there's going to be home rule petitions or anything like that needed, we have to get a plan together now. There's been too much, yeah, but just, there's been too much things brought in September saying, oh, well, now we can get something, and it's too late.
Yeah, for the
So,
legislature. Well, we can have an extra meeting, too. We don't have to do a regular MPNEDC meeting, because it's every other month.
But we have a June meeting
could.
anyway.
We are asking for some special meetings for the TIP meeting, EWP,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, so we're going to be meeting anyway. I would just to follow up on what Paula's urgency, I'm trying to talk you out of having a shoulder service rather than a year-round service. A lot of the feedback we got from the public are, again, these are transit-dependent people.
Yeah.
In January, February, and March, the weather's really bad, to get to your point. These folks can't walk or bike to their jobs
Yeah.
if it's snowing, and it's just very uncomfortable. And to buy a cab, I mean, a transit-dependent population doesn't have the income to afford taxi service as their primary form of transportation. So so that's why we're kind of looking at year-round service for this. It's meant to run in those months, to provide service for those people. That's what we heard back from a lot of this outreach, and it's really uncomfortable to listen to the hardship that a lot of people have for transportation. But it is empowering to have the service when there's no other options and the weather's bad outside.
Is
How
it-
did we get around 30 years ago with no bus service?
Exactly.
We all lived here all winter long, and we found our way to our jobs.
Right,
It's a little
it's a
extreme.
hardship for a lot of folks.
Okay. Is it possible to support looking at the Mid-Island core? Is that okay to say?
With, I think more with, what funding source, what,
Okay.
If it was just a smaller amount, I would say, look at the local assessment.
And the local assessment's gonna be the easiest way out, because it's, you know what the number is.
Especially as a seed program. I mean,
Somebody else is
that's our
paying for
pilot,
it.
Mr. Chairman, that could be something, a good avenue to take, and if it just doesn't work, and, this whole process, we all kind of fall on our face by trying to implement the services being requested. It's not a hard thing, I mean, to pull back a sticker program, it's a lot to roll that out and to pull it
Okay,
back.
no, I agree with that,
I
Mike.
think succeeding at a smaller piece is going to pave the way for succeeding at the
But-
larger piece.
I'm gonna say what Matt's thinking right now. You know what he's thinking?
I'm about to say it.
The sticker program doesn't have to necessarily have anything to do with the bus. That could be going on right now without it. So if that went in, that money's gonna go to something really worthy if this failed. So I'm not worried about the sticker program being attached to this like as a permanent thing. You know what I mean? But the general fund for a one time or 2 years is easier, I would think, to get through. Paula, we just got
look at
$43 million in
ferry
sewer.
connector.
Huh?
It needs to be a reliable, long-term funding source.
Well, very,
I mean, we've already, because of not having that and that in place with the ferry connector, we're in the third year. We increased ridership by over 50%, nearly 50% from year 1 to year 2, and now we're cutting back service to go from June 1st to September.
I think that can get fixed. I think that will get fixed a little bit.
From a successful transit provider and transit system, you're providing a service, people are using it, and then you're taking it away.
Well,
And I mean, I understand that the ferry connector is a small piece of that, but I don't wanna get into that with year-round service,
yeah, it isn't the same. I understand it's not the same.
where you're out begging for money to fund services.
I would say.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Paul, can I ask you, so on this list, the local assessment, I mean, there's other options not on here, right? I mean, the town could just budget this and provide a budget item every year, or,
I say yes, but I don't know.
well, they could. Whether they will or not is a different question, but they could, and other towns do. Didn't your example say that if towns wanted service, they budget for it and
Through the local,
provide a payment for it?
yeah, through the local assessment.
Okay.
When do
the-
we start now? When does the wave start for this season?
And the current embarkation fee thing can be changed. That can be changed. And could be there at the selectman level to fix this through FinCom. I'm just saying. So that's not,
To support an embark, like looking at, like I said earlier when we did
Yeah,
the sales
I think we
tax
should-
part, should we go down the line?
we should definitely look,
Go through that for what it's
we
like.
should look at the numbers on the fast boat tickets and enter into some kind of discussion with steamship management and their feelings. They do have some points that are very valid politically, Mike, between the two islands and how things work. They all use commuter books over there. We don't use that many for the slow boat. We use them for the fast boat. It's like a flip-flop, okay? So they're very concerned with some of this stuff. But I am in favor of it personally, as a steamship member and as a person that just knows how it works. We should do it. we should put an embarkation fee on the commuter book somehow. Somehow.
Adds up.
The intent of that, when it happened, Grace Grossen called me when it was going through, and she said, is there anything we're supposed to exempt? And I said, yeah, the school kids. You're supposed to exempt the school kids going over. The town shouldn't be paying itself. But then somehow it turned into all the commuter books. So the intent at the time wasn't to,
It was barely on the ground. There was hardly anybody buying them then.
oh, I know, but that,
like
but that
100 years
wasn't,
ago.
you know, that wasn't the
Yeah.
intent at the initial time,
No, that's
Yeah.
true.
so.
And the other issue too is there's gonna be an electric book for slow boats soon. Not next 5 minutes from now, but it's coming. So that's the other little thing that they're concerned with. If we had a slow boat electric book, we would lose all the money that we're getting from the Eagle slow boat, because that's where all the funding is coming from. Because the slow boat nobody buys commuter books for the slow boat, very few, okay? So they're mostly one-way tickets, Mike, that are getting the embarkation fee. I'm just giving you that point.
What I can do is, get the data, like I said, a lot of it's already exists. I just
They have it.
Put it to the meeting packet, so
Yeah.
that's good. If you like this idea of the embarkation fee, I can get the data for that, I can get the language and the legislation. Right now, there's one sentence that says for school children and commuter books. How you change that is basically submit a home rule petition with an edit on there that has to be approved. You just strike it if you don't want it there, I suppose. But we can bring that language in and just, if we want to increase it as well. I can bring a scenario together that shows what it is now and what it could be and what the programs that would fund would be.
Yeah.
But the language that would need to be edited in order to actually realize an increase in that. We can bring that in for the next meeting if you'd like, and that might help it out.
I think that's
Some of
good.
these other categories, it doesn't seem like it's that popular unless you would like to revisit the paid parking sticker program. I can bring back some of the, again, this is 10-year-old data, but I can bring that in as a refresh to see this is how much that program can generate, and you could probably cobble a couple of these programs together in order to realize some degree of transit increase.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I think that we should look at paid parking, you know, not necessarily meter or whatever, but I think we should look at this parking lot here. I don't know why this,
I know, I said that.
we've had several discussions about expanding it, and I think you could make some projections as what those sales could be. There's additional land adjacent to that that's not being used. We've talked about it many times. So, that parking lot, we didn't build anything, we just used
Yeah.
the existing one that was there.
I didn't mean, I meant the road and the
Right.
pieces. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say we built a lot.
So I don't know, you know, paid parking is always interpreted as meters, but it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be, it could be for other charges for parking as well.
I think if any of this is going to fly, I think it has to, the public has to be presented the whole picture. I think it just can't be piecemeal. It has to be, you know, we're doing paid parking this way, and here's why, here's the benefit you're going to get from it. You know, here's the enforcement that's actually really going to happen. It's not, you know, you have to piece it all together, and we may have enough money for a parking garage. I mean, it has to be, people have to see that there's something in it for them. Otherwise, you know, they'll shoot it down piecemeal, which is what's been happening. So,
We definitely have to have a program to assign any of these revenue generators. We have to assign that to a program. If we don't really have that program thought out and verified, it's an uphill battle to sell it. So it just helps us out as our staff.
And we have residential parking stickers for people that live on Fair Street, and, you know, Selectmen went through a lot of stuff in the last 2 years on that. I mean, this, to me, is just a continuation of these same discussions. The AMP parking lot, I've said this for years, is the greatest asset that Nantucket forgets. Since 1964, that thing has been sitting there for free. With these big trucks not there, not just on the street, but there, and enforcing that and having a place for them to go. We had to provide them something. They're providing a service on Nantucket. It isn't a big negative thing. They're from off island. They are providing something that we need, or they wouldn't be here. Charging them, as Andrew said, I think Andrew was also saying, if the shuttle to the boat becomes standard, people will pay to park there for the weekend because they don't have to call somebody for a ride and make it a big hassle to get back to their car. So I think there's a lot of potential for two fairgrounds. It's just, I know it's not part of this discussion, Paula, as far as the year-round bus, but again, nothing's conventional here, like Matt's saying. Everything here is our own kind of weird way of doing things. think that there's a way to pay for this, some of this, without it being buying a bunch of stuff and putting it in the ground and having to fix it. I think we can do it through a better way, so, anyway.
Paul and I met with the airport, they kind of told us the same story, whatever revenue they generate, a lot of it goes into maintaining the system.
And if they gotta replace it again, why? I think it works. The little plastic thing comes out. I've never had the little plastic thing not fall out in my hand, so I don't know. Well, anyway, so a motion for support of looking at paid parking, the embarkation fee, Mike, and, what was the other one that we said was sort of okay? Oh, local assessment, right. Is there,
That's my motion.
is that your motion? Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Paul. I'm sorry for the meandering conversation. Okay, Mike, back to you. Thank you for the staff report, by the way. It's excellent with the way you can get to the right page. The in-town bike path engineering study, Mike? And that is phase one, or is that the whole thing?
The Washington Street phase.
Okay.
Downtown bike path. This is a service agreement with David Fredericks to
Okay.
provide utilities and consultation services, to coordinate a feasibility study to underground utilities along Washington Street.
Okay.
So that better bike and pedestrian accommodation can be provided without the obstructions of the poles. This is to understand what the cost is and actually what the design of undergrounding would look like within the right of way.
And this includes some of the damage takings that we have to do by, no, just existing.
This specific agreement is with with David Fredericks,
Yep.
who would provide the consultation services. The undergrounding feasibility study is being financed by Remain Nantucket, and that's the utilities, National Grid, Verizon, and Comcast are actually part of that.
Awesome.
Designing it, the coordination and liaising between the utilities, the town, and then DEC with that's basically David Fredericks as well. I believe there should be an organizational chart and a packet.
Okay, excellent.
Page 30.
Yep, I see it.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes,
ask Mike?
go
So,
ahead, Andrew.
so Mike, basically, the 55,000 is a combination of the Verizon and the National Grid costs, is that right?
Correct.
So on page 31, the Verizon cost is 14 and change, and then National Grid is 40,000.
Correct.
So that's being paid by Remain?
Correct.
Yep. And our contract with Mr. Fredericks, if you support the concept, would come from the DLTA account, which is the state funding that the NPNEDC receives.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to support this. Is there a second? All those in favor? Thank you, this is great.
Jack?
Yes, Jack made the motion and Wendy seconded it. Mike, this is good. Andrew, thank you for your efforts on this. Okay, this is unbelievable. Okay,
Just one comment on those, $40,000 to, what is it, to National Grid. Dave Fredericks is $8,000 at $125 an hour, he's 60 hours. 40,000 would be, 300 hours. Are they gonna be putting 300 hours in?
Probably for a number of different combinations, different staff.
I understand, I'm just making,
It's the use of their software, and they are always the highest of all.
I understand, that's the point I'm making, is that we all spend a hell of a lot of money, and then it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's all, when they say it's $1 million to move 2 poles, I
the
just.
fact that everybody's on board with this and this, all these different entities, Matt, I'm like, wow.
No, I am too.
You know what I mean? You just gotta, I know, it's, everybody's waiting for all the telephone poles to vanish one morning, and everything's on the ground, it's never gonna happen.
Oh, and if it does, it's gonna cost us
Yeah.
millions of dollars at this rate, it's crazy.
Yeah. Mike, the complete streets thing, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I didn't attend that, and I really feel bad about it, but I couldn't be
I
there.
did.
You
and
did go.
The policy
Good.
that Mike wrote is great,
Good.
excellent.
I'm
and
glad you have
could
that.
Accept it perfectly.
Lee?
With the,
So,
with the deletion of the committee, because we already have enough committees.
I didn't know that's what you were here for, but I figured it out really fast when you put your hand up.
If you go to comments, my comments are the ones with the L, truly.
Lee, go ahead.
Attended the session that was put on with the state, and then we discussed it in Roads and Right of Way, and so I'm standing here along with Nat as a member of Roads and Right of Way. We reviewed this with Mike. I think the important thing to remember is that the state commission will grade policies and fund anything that's above an 80%. So Mike very carefully looked at the guidelines and said, okay, I gotta put this language in, I gotta put that language in.
He's good at that stuff.
That will get the points. So,
The gobbledygook that they want.
I'm here just to let you know that it's been reviewed, and like Kara Bosnowski, we're all in favor.
Well, that's great, Lee, and thank you for your help, by the way. Mike, excellent.
I'll be honest, Mr. Chairman, I can take total credit. It was very, very easy to do this because the state actually did a lot of.
Did they give us anything that was already sort of something that was already in place with anything else, like the tip or anything?
We basically
Yeah.
fill out the language using a template, so it was very, very easy, very
Good.
streamlined. We didn't have to invent a lot of things other than naming our different committees, issues and stuff that we're concerned about. And like Kara said, if we didn't want a work group to kind of shepherd a lot of these different issues, we can easily just
I
remove
think
that.
between the Board of Selectmen and Street Commissioners, the Planning Commission, Roads and Right of Way, Traffic Safety, Bike Group, I think
Yeah.
we've hit it all.
And is this sort of, kind of adds to chapter 90, it kind of helps us a little bit.
$50,000 if we can get this all done by the end of May. And then next fiscal year gets us $400,000.
Well, that's great.
And we have been talking about hiring a consultant to draft on the People GIS format that we have, the sidewalk condition study, so that it'll actually be mapped. And we can
And prioritize, that's really the big thing, see what projects are using funds immediately before 400,000, that's.
So you need a motion to just accept the policy. Draft policy.
Mr. Chairman, the motion specifically would be to request that the Board of Selectmen adopt the policy.
Okay?
So it would be a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that they adopt the complete policy.
Perfect.
So
Make a
we'll-
motion to recommend that.
And
I'll take the second.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I
So-
have one question.
Yes,
just-
Andrew.
Mike, so the option A on page 40, so that is deleted, is that correct?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so the recommendation does not include option A. Right.
Okay, so Jack made the motion and Kara seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Excellent. This is great. Okay, Mike,
Thank you, team.
thanks, Lee, very, very much for everything. The UPWP, Mike? Starting on page 41.
It's on page 41, that's this is really no different than what we had presented last month. If it's at all possible, take it back to page 9 of the packet. There's item number 3 in the transportation report that requests that an approval of a public outreach schedule. We're meeting today on May 2nd, and we would ask that the NPDC hold special meetings in the future on June 6th, June 20th, and July 18th. And on those meetings, we would initiate a public review schedule, solicit comments from the public through a public hearing process, and then approve the UPWP at the July 18th meeting.
Okay, so you don't need a vote. You want to just,
I'd like a consent to schedule those
Yes.
meetings if that's.
okay, is there a motion, is there a motion to grant that consent to Mike?
So
Second? You want to second that, Jack? Okay. All those in favor? Kara and Jack seconded. All those in favor? Approving the meeting schedule and the consent for him to put it on for a June meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, we have the Mass Dot liaison on the line here, Gabe Sherman. Gabe, are you there still?
Oh, I didn't even know he was there at all.
Wake up.
It's, Mike. So we're on the item E now, right, with him?
Correct.
Okay,
And
back on page 42.
Before we move on, could you tell me the dates again? It was a little bit fuzzy for the proposed special meetings.
June 6th, June 20th, and July 18th.
Oh, it's July 18th, I said June 18th, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
And, Mr. Chairman, the next item, the FY 17 through 21 Transportation Improvement Program. This is very similar to the UPWP. There's really not a lot of new information that I have to present this month, other than the draft project schedule that we reviewed, was reviewed with Mass DOT and District 5, and they were okay with the proposed projects. Just to refresh your memory, the projects were in 2017, flexing of the STP funds to transit for replacement of 2 buses. For FY 18, there was no project, but the FY 19 project, the Bartlett Road, Surfside Road roundabout project, it was understood that may be ready for fiscal year 18, and
Should be
that
ready
project very well likely will need to be advanced constructed using 2 years of funding, so that very well could use 18 and 19 funding for that bigger project. Well, right now, we have it scheduled for 19, and for 2018, that's kind of an open year right now, because we're looking to define a project to use those funds. Again, with like the UPWP, we're asking for special meetings on June 6th, June 20th, and July 18th. Just as you consented to the UPWP, I'm assuming there's consent for for this public outreach schedule for the TIP, for the special meetings.
Yep. Mike, I don't mean just, no way to move that Bartlett Road thing faster? Like, even if it was funded through the town for some of it? Or is that just a waste of time to even try to do that? We got the right of way, we're like so close to getting this, all the pieces in place.
And that was communicated to SDOT. I think the restriction, and Gabe, please feel free to interrupt me. I think the guidance that we get from SDOT in order to keep some kind of
Schedule. Yeah, I know.
Nobody's given special favoritism or anything. They have that set guidelines
Yeah.
for where you schedule a project for a particular year. Right now, Bartlett and Surfside Road hasn't been initiated. So for projects that haven't been initiated to the system, there hasn't been a preliminary design public hearing through at the 25% stage. Projects that haven't met that threshold, we're asking not to program those in for 17 or for 18. So we're just complying with that. Like I said, if we're at the stage and those design plans are reviewed by Mass DOT and those issues aren't significant, the right-of-way issues and whatnot, those can be advanced. And once we have this meeting this time next year, we may be in a position to have the project scheduled, have a preliminary design public hearing. And we could probably look at changing that year, but we have to go by the guidelines that are set for right now, where that project stands. There's not a lot of issues with the project, you're correct, but
Yeah.
we still have to comply with the guidelines.
Okay.
And the final design money was just voted, isn't that right?
It was just approved, correct?
Right.
So we can initiate the project and get that done. That's, staff's working on that now to
Right.
start to initiate the project. I believe the next, just like the town has a capital program committee, Mass DOT has a capital review committee, and I believe their next meeting is in July, I believe, Gabe, early July. So we will,
I'm not positive on that, but I think that sounds about right.
it's in the next month or two, so that would be the opportunity to initiate this project then. And the staff still has to advertise for engineering services to actually do the design work.
I thought VHB already did all that stuff, but okay, I got it.
They did the feasibility study, they did a traffic report and a traffic study and recommended that as an alternative. A three-way stop, a mini roundabout, or the standard modern roundabout that we have at Sparks.
Yeah, yeah.
Went through all these different scenarios.
Would,
Okay.
would the lane markers that are embedded, the reflectors that are embedded into Milestone and Hopeless. Is that something that could be funded by the TIP? Because the selectmen have asked to have that put on Nantucket, possibly Old South, the rest of Hopeless.
Yeah.
Because I'm just afraid that if the paving word stays in there,
Yeah.
you and I are gonna hear it. So,
No, this is a perfect question for Gabe. I'm gonna lean on him.
could,
hard on this
could we
'cause
say road lane marking instead of paving?
Yeah. Again, a lot of this is data driven. If there was some safety reasons why there was lane departures, we can come up with some justification for doing that. But Gabe, do you have a better answer for that? We could using TIP funds for these kinds of improvements, the reflectors, the center line
Cat's
reflectors,
eyes.
and these kinds of improvements, rather than it's just surface improvements.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Again, as you were saying, it would have to go through the typical process before it was, placed on the tip. Get a MassDOT ID and description.
Okay, so if we try to initiate a center line marking program, is that something we could take to Mass DOT's capital program and try to advance that particular project and schedule that for the tip?
Yeah, why don't you, I don't want to steer the body wrong right now. If you could, send me an email with this, as many specifics as you have, I can check around to make sure that would be something that would be appropriate as the TIP project, and I can get back to you on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a number of different categories. There's HSIP, Highway Safety Improvement Funds, that are eligible. That's more data driven. They have crash statistics to back up that. STP funds is something we use for payment management. So that's probably a category we would see if we can use that. So we'll try to do some homework and bring that to you for the next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so Mike, so you don't need a motion for this, right? Or you do for this one?
The consent on the meeting dates, which you essentially have already consented to for the UPWP, it's the same dates, the
Okay.
26th, the 18th, and July.
So do you want a second motion?
Sure.
Okay. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Public participation plan update. Who's this? Is this
Page 44, Mike.
Is that Mike? Okay.
This is our capital plan.
Oh, okay.
This is what was voted.
Okay, okay. Mike, do you want to roll that out?
The public participation plan?
Yes.
The last public participation plan was approved in June of 2007. Basically what this document is a strategy for engaging the public on transportation decision-making. The plan includes not just a description of what the APDC is and all the enabling legislation that goes along with the transportation programs, the federal, state, and local level. But it also includes stakeholder lists, people we reach out to, and ways in which we do reach out to them, whether it's through email or certified mail, and how we advertise for meetings. This document does need to go out for public review. There are a number of different changes in here, and I'll speak to the significant changes in a second. But this does need a 45-day public review before it's approved. So the action that we would ask today is to go ahead and release this for public review now. Staff would advertise this document from we'd advertise this document for public review from May 26th to July 18th. That will satisfy the 45-day public review period. It needs to be a little more rigorous because it is a method of which we engage the public. Now to get into the specific changes, staff's outlined a number of different changes in the document. mostly to use social media and the town's websites and its notification procedures that are built into the website. A lot of you get notifications when there's an agenda that's posted online. You subscribe to that. So we've actually described that system in this document where it didn't really have a description before. What we've also done is included an edit in here, and if you look on page 59, there's a table that lists each of the program, the public participation plan, regional transportation plan, the TIP and EPWP. Right now, it lists the different requirements. Right now, we require a public hearing during the drafts of those documents during public review before it's approved. The issue with a public hearing is it requires advertisement in the newspaper, whereas a change in that could be a public meeting where we could advertise it as a public meeting and avoid printing in the newspaper and use a number of different outreach methods through our, again, email notifications,
Right.
website postings, these other methods to be a little more cost effective and still try to meet
The
some
criteria.
of our obligations to connect with the public. Another change in here is some additions to our stakeholder list, and those include the Commission on Disability and the Interfaith Council as additions to our, and that's on page 57 actually, under section 2.2.5.
Yep.
And there's a number of different small edits in this document, but that's really the two significant ones: adding the Commission on Disability, adding the Interfaith Council, and then changing the requirement from a public hearing within the review period for all these documents to a public meeting prior to approval of all these documents.
And is that going to be one of the scheduled meetings?
Yes, we're going by the existing public participation plan right now,
Yeah.
so that would be something that would be advertised. And again, like I said, it needs a 45-day public review period, so we would advertise this for the 45-day review period, again, May 26th through July 18th. And then along the way, as we have these other special meetings, June 6th,
Right.
June 18th, we can discuss these plans and the merits of any of the
And
changes.
this would happen at the August meeting. I think we have a regular meeting in August, right?
Well, we'd like to have this approved at a meeting on July.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Can I actually butt in quickly?
Absolutely.
Just a recommendation, since we have been doing, we've asked all the regions to update these plans, and our some people in our in planning as well as Office of Civil Rights have been tending to do a review of the documents before they go out for public comment, just to make sure that any sort of issues that might come up as far as MassDOT is concerned can get addressed, before going through the expense of advertising in the paper and going through a whole round of public comment. So if it wouldn't throw off your schedule too much, I might recommend that if everyone agrees to this version as is being presented at this meeting, that they vote to release it to MassDOT for our comment first.
I think that'd be fine. We have time between today's meeting, May 2nd, and May 26th.
Yeah.
Is when we would actually want to start the public review period. So that's a good chunk. It's 3 weeks of time that we can actually go through a review process and make some edits. I don't think we need significant changes, but I think it's good policy to go and just have their review, being that this is something that's initiated by the state.
Yeah.
It's fine, great.
If there's, we would ask, we would need authorization to advertise the public participation plan for public review, so I guess that would be the motion.
But we're gonna send it to the state first.
We can do both.
Both.
We can
Including sending it to the state.
Authorize to
Authorize to send it
send it
to the state.
to Mass DOT and authorize.
Authorize review period from May 26th to July 18th.
So moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Leslie seconded it. Ellen, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
I did.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
doing the appointments for the next year of the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. On page 61, there's a public notice for to fill 6 at-large seats. Again, as you may know, the BPAC is composed of 6 at-large members and 1 designee from the NPDC. And we've been advertising this each year. If you're okay with the notice on page 61, I don't see exactly what dates I'm asking to advertise this. We would like to have this advertised for, so bad, I should have this just memorized. But basically have the a meeting on June 20th to appoint the new members of the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm replying to my.
Oh.
Authorize an advertisement period from May 26th to June 16th, so that we can appoint the members at the June 20th meeting.
Okay, that's not what it says. Okay, well, whatever you're gonna do, change that around a little bit.
Yeah, I'll probably need to edit
Okay.
that. Something maybe for discussion, Mr. Chairman, these have been 1-year appointments. I don't know if there's any appetite for increasing that to a 2-year or even a 3-year.
I thought we fixed that already.
Definitely more than 1 year.
We should definitely make,
Yeah.
they're
Because
just
the
getting
people
their
that are
feet
doing
wet.
it want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they're like, rotating. They want to stick with it most of it.
2 or 3 years to begin.
I hope
Do we need to do like do we need to bring back something, do we have to like rotate, make a 2-3 thing, or do we just have everybody expires at the same time?
You can do it either way.
Because I think, I don't know.
I think for this type of committee, I think the year was, originally, they had a certain thing to do, and then that was going to be over, but I think there's a more expanded role. I don't see a real need to have a rotation.
Okay.
Unless you want one.
Let's just do 3 years.
Yeah. Is that okay, Mike, can we just authorize that right now?
Yeah.
We can? Okay.
On a motion, yeah.
A motion to
Make it 3 years.
authorize the 3 and advertise with Mike's new dates, the 26th, or whatever you said.
And just to be clear, that in the notice, it says the term of service will run until June 30th, 2017. I'll just change that to 2019,
Yeah.
if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah,
Okay.
great, awesome. Thank you for that. And, you made the motion.
I guess I did.
You made the motion.
Yeah, yeah.
Leslie moved, and I'll second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, Eleanor, that was a little mistake there. We can approve the minutes that Barry's here now, so that's good. Okay, let's see here, the budget reallocation, and that must be you, maybe. No, that's Mike.
This is UPWP.
Yeah, okay.
As has been customary the last couple of meetings, staff is presenting, I'm not sure if everybody got a copy of the reallocation, it's not in the packet, but again, this is just an FYI to notify the PUC that staff's been requesting a reallocation of the budget to MassDOT. Basically, repurposing about a half a week's time from data collection, traffic data collection, a number of different things, to the public participation plan. I've used a little bit more time than anticipated in developing the public participation plan so far, so I just have to flex some more time over to that so that we can have an accurate representation. Right, that's kind of maxed out, so I like to just provide more time so we can actually finish the work on that task. There's no action that's necessary, just this is
We don't have to vote for this, okay.
no, I'm just letting you know that I'm moving some time around from data collection to the public participation plan, about a half a week's of time.
Okay.
Right, and just to be clear too, this doesn't affect the bottom line. This is just shifting around time within the existing budget, so.
Okay, the consensus, the census question yet, is that something we?
Yes, so, Mr. Chairman, I think you all had a chance at least to look at this information at the last meeting. As you know, we put included some questions in the census and got a really great return, so 1428 responding. And this is part of what we're seeking to get some public information in anticipation of updating the master plan, which will expire in 2019. So basically 6 years ago, in 2006, we repeated some of the same questions to see if there had been any movement or any changes in the responses that we got. What?
6 years ago, it was 2010.
No, in 2006,
Okay.
we asked the question as part of the lead up to the master plan.
Oh, okay.
So now in 2016, 10 years later, okay, getting some updated information. So
That's very simple, too.
it is. The first question, the goals and policies, I think what's interesting there is there was a shift from, if you compare the answers on page 63 to 62, the shift is that there's been a shift from more restrictive to maintaining, which is interesting. And I think after 10 years of work on zoning, I think that's actually a good statement. Basically, that moved to the majority answer of the five, from 29.52% in 2006 to 40.27% in 2016. So that's the biggest movement in that particular question. So I think clearly the minority opinion of eliminating all rules and regulations continues to stay in its 30 or so votes. But again, that is an interesting movement on that particular question. The next one was a question about housing. And again, if you compare the two, 64 and 65, so the majority answer continues to be for the town to adjust its laws to allow private sector to respond. Interestingly here, it's not as strong as it was in the 2006, and there's sort of a split in the 2016 answers. So there was more support for the town developing and managing housing, and more people answered that the town should have no role, even though they're still the minority. The economy question, again, I think stayed very similar to the 2006 question. So the majority answer continues to be the town should support both year-round and seasonal. There was a decline in people who said that the town shouldn't be involved in the economy, from 27 to 22%, and otherwise similar responses. On the open space question, still the strong majority continues to support acquisition of open space. It was 89% in 2006, 84% in 2016. And that's page 69 and 70. As we talked about earlier with the year-round system, there was at least strong support from the 1464 people who answered this here, roughly 77 and 23%. The paid parking system, the answers continue to say that we have a little bit of a challenge. I think as partly what was raised.
Can I make a comment? I think we asked that question sort of, the way we asked it, I think prompted that answer as much as anything, because, and I wrote this when I responded to it, because if you're a downtown business owner, you're not going to want to discourage vehicles in the downtown. Right. That isn't the intent of a demand management system implemented properly. So I think that we really, I think it's good we had this, but I think the question wasn't quite asked properly.
And there's so many of them. You asked a question before. You could even say, when you ask about open space, what the data of how much we have on the question they don't know all this stuff. But that's true, Matt.
Yeah, but this one is particularly egregious. I mean, some of it is just people not understanding it, and it's okay, we can say they don't understand it, but this basically says to discourage vehicles. Well, the idea of the properly implemented parking system is to actually encourage turnover and more vehicles. It's just to discourage all-day parking and people parking in front of their businesses all day, which hurts the entire economy. So I think it just needed to be asked a little more clearly.
Well, and Mr. Chairman, we have a chance to ask the question in a different way
Yeah.
before we finalize, so we can certainly try that at the next,
Next
census.
go around. Should give them a reason, show them what they might get from it, then you get a different answer.
And finally, I think page 73, again, I think as the last time, there was strong support for more investment in bike paths, and I think this shows there's not a whole lot of people saying spend less on things, that they're at least a certain level of satisfaction with the current level of investment. So I think it was a good exercise, and like I said, we'll probably do it and ask some more in-depth questions. If there's any ideas for questions we might want to ask, certainly get those to me. Okay, that's it for that issue.
All right, Mike, the presentation report. It's not. Okay. You want to go over that, or is that, we sort of have kind of gone around and back to, we've already discussed all this stuff really
Yeah,
indirectly, so.
there's some minor updates to some ongoing projects. If there's any questions about those, I'm happy to answer those, but we've really gone through the bulk of what I really had anticipated discussing
Yeah.
tonight, the programming documents, the year-round study, and then the complete streets policy.
I mean, Milk Street's on the list, right? On
Right.
the extension. Mill Hill Path thing. Yeah, that's gonna happen, kind of, right? And that's the most important stuff. I mean, everybody knows that 10 bike paths not gonna happen tomorrow.
Just
For
so you know,
most
the
part.
bid opening for the first phase of that is scheduled for May 9th. So in another week, the bid period closes, and then according to Mass DOT's guidance or regulations on, or I guess it's an in-house policy, we have to award a contract for 120 days after advertising. That is by the end of June. So bids open May 9th, and the contract should be awarded by the end of June.
What's that on?
The in-town bike path, the first phase to the
Well, we redid the bid so that it
Washington
could be more
extension,
accurate.
okay, so you're gonna, so to work on it during the summer or in the fall?
it would likely be the fall.
The fall,
There's kind of a prohibition on road work until after Labor Day.
yeah, that was on the railroad bed?
Correct.
It's not really a road, you know.
Well, there's some
think
some
they
work
work
on
on that
streets,
in
to
the
widen
summer.
out Orange Street. So
Right.
maybe there could be some work done in the summertime. That really has to be
Right.
thought through. But right now, there's a prohibition of
Right,
significant construction to disrupt traffic flow in some months.
sure.
Okay. The Sunshine Commons comments, discussion. That's your,
Right, and so, Mr. Chairman, Eleanor, could you just update us on the schedule of that, the 40B hearings right now?
Yes, so they opened the initial hearing on January 14th. It was continued in February, March. They reopened it on April 14th. Not a lot of progress was made in terms of what I would call forward momentum. They're coming back on May 11th. It's normally a Thursday, but this month it's going to be on a Wednesday. And they're going to respond to those town and board comments and commissions that they have received, which is virtually everybody but the planning board, and I believe that will be forthcoming.
Mm-hmm.
I've posted absolutely everything on the town website that I've received. I have sent everything that I've received to all of the applicants and his agents, all of the applicant and all of his agents, attorneys, architects, engineers, et cetera, as well as to all of those abutters who have manifested concern throughout the process, which includes about 11 people, and their attorneys, and then the land council. So I've been very adamant and vigilant about making sure that people who have vested interest on either side of it are well informed.
And could you what is the date that the ZBA is supposed to render a decision unless there's an extension?
There was an extension that
Yep.
was approved and filed, and so now the deadline will be September of 2016
Okay.
for a decision.
Okay, great. So I think at this time, I don't have any draft or anything for the commission to look at. I would ask that we table this to our June meeting. I'm going to suggest an alternative to the June 6th, which we're going to be meeting on June 20th. So I'd like to do our regular annual meeting on June 20th as opposed to June 6th. So if we could table this matter to June 20th, that would be good.
Eleanor, are they going to give you written response to comments?
I hope so. I mean, I closed my packet this Friday. I don't know, to be honest. They sometimes do PowerPoints, sometimes they'll send me the PowerPoint before the hearing. So if I do get a written response, it will be posted and included in the packet.
Okay, so we don't need a vote for that. Do we need a vote to change the meeting?
We do.
Okay, so
Which is item
is
M.
everybody okay with that, going to the 20th? I mean, I don't,
You don't need a motion for
nobody
that.
goes anywhere in June.
You need a motion for
Lives here, so.
We need a motion on K to continue, and if we agree to the 20th.
So you're canceling the 6th?
What's
We're
that?
not going to meet on the 6th, we're not going to meet on the 20th, which is a Monday.
Well, no, you are meeting on the 6th.
Oh.
I won't be here on the 6th,
Oh, you
so
want the
you could
issue.
do Mike's transportation-related things on the 6th.
So
And
you want to change just that 40B thing to the 20th?
well, no, and in addition, our annual meeting is typically in June. So I want to do that particular, so other than you're going to meet and have a discussion about Mike's transportation-related things on the 6th, but there won't be a lot of other business at that meeting.
You want them,
The main event will be the 20th.
Yeah, because then you'll be back.
Yeah.
It's better.
so we're just having another meeting, just not the main meeting. I got it. The main meeting's the 20th. We're making the 6th meeting just like kind of a light.
Special.
All right.
This is item N removed on to.
All right. I didn't understand that.
They're a little together.
Okay, so is there a motion to that extent?
Second.
Mike?
Second, yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, sorry about that confusion. Jim, you want to speak?
You need to vote to
Oh.
accept that.
Oh, well,
L,
okay,
item
yeah,
L.
we're gonna
Well, either way, no,
accept
just, give it heads up that the Board of Selectmen is gonna be working on long-range planning, and it's coming your way.
it. Okay. And
We wanna-
More,
accept you.
you can accept me.
I kind of did that at the beginning, but I wasn't thinking about it officially. All those in favor?
Who made the
Yay.
Yay, all right.
motion?
Give it a second, the minutes.
Oh, the minutes, okay.
Just Barry's here.
Barry, see, we had a little thing where certain people weren't here for that meeting, so they couldn't vote on the minutes because they weren't present. at the
Could
meeting.
you please, I'm sorry, I didn't know who made the motion for Matt.
Leslie did. So we need a motion, a new did we already have a motion, or we just have another motion to accept the minutes of March 28th? So is there a second to that? By somebody that was here?
Can I just change public present to Paula?
I did that already.
Yeah.
I saw that today, I had corrected that. But thank you for having eagle eyes.
And those of us can vote on that and say aye.
Aye.
Me, Kara, Wendy, Barry,
Andrew?
and Andrew. Ellen. Okay. to Andrew, talk to Mike, you know, the stuff with the state is another world.
No offense, Gabe.
No. I thought he was gone. Thank you very much.
Motion to
everyone.
adjourn?
Motion to, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Yes.
Surfside Commons get taken off the agenda that I missed that you talked about and I completely.
It's continued to the 20th. Yep.
Sorry.
Just for
No.